Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world who share their insights and expertise so we can all grow together. I'm your host, Heidi Schalk, and if you're new to the podcast, welcome. We're excited to have you here. Make sure you stay to the end because we're going to be giving you a free gift. But without further ado, I want to introduce my guest today. His name is Brandon Powell with Hatchworks. So welcome, Brandon, to the podcast. I'm excited to have you.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So, Brandon, can you kick us off with telling us a little bit about yourself, your company, and your role within it?
Yeah, so I'm the founder and CEO of Hatchworks AI. And what we do is we help companies, typically medium to large enterprises, implement and scale AI. So we work with companies that maybe don't even know how to spell AI to companies that are already scaling in production. And our goal is really to help them drive ROI. And typically that's new revenue streams, or a lot of customers right now, it's driving cost out of their business by getting more efficient. And at the end of the day, we're just trying to help them leverage their data to grow their business.
Awesome. So what inspired you to launch Hatchworks AI?
So originally I started the business 8 years ago. I come from a product background. So what that means is like a digital product background. So building different software products that customers use in their day-to-day lives. And when I was thinking about how do we, what do I want to do going forward, decided that I wanted to really be able to help customers across a lot of different industries when they were really struggling to build products. And so we built software for the first 6 years, very custom, pretty high, high end kind of enterprise grade. So these are things you can't buy. So maybe you want to build a CRM from scratch instead of, using Salesforce, for example. We didn't do a lot of that, but that's just an example. A lot in healthcare, building healthcare applications that talk to EMRs. And so a lot of very complex stuff in software. But then 2 years ago, when AI came out, when chat came out, and I was like, holy smokes, this is really going to change the way that people build software. And it's also going to change what they build. And it has. And so I decided to pivot, go all in on AI. That took a lot of change across my entire business to be able to do that. But now, 2 years later, we're really starting, to reap the benefits of that change because companies, that's all companies want to talk about right now is AI and what it can do in their business.
Absolutely. It's the latest topic and it's not going anywhere, right? It's here to stay. And it's fastly evolving. So you had shared that you work with a number of different types of companies. So are you pretty agnostic across the board, or is there a specific company that, say, a founder, a leader, or someone is listening to you right now that would be your ideal client?
Yeah, so I like the medium and large enterprise. So we have Fortune 5 clients. We also have startups, and kind of, but in between there is probably our sweet spot. And ever since I made the pivot to where, yes, we still do build sometimes software, but a lot of times what we're doing is more AI transformation. I've started working with a lot more CEOs, COOs, CFOs, whereas, the first 6 years, that's all from a CTO or CIO, right? They typically own software development. So it's been really cool for me to kind of branch out more over to the business side because typically AI transformation is actually driven from the business or the board are wanting to do it. And so, and from an industry, we're working across industries. Previously, it was mainly like healthcare and fintech, but AI has kind of democratized a lot of that industry expertise in some ways, where now we're working in construction, real estate, companies that really never spent money on custom software are spending money on AI because AI, you can implement AI for a much more reasonable cost than what it takes to build custom software. And of course, you're getting a much better ROI if it's done correctly. And so, yeah, we're working cross industry. We have some industries that we have more experience in, but AI has really driven us into industries I never thought I would ever work in.
Yeah. So in today's fast moving tech economy, how do you help your clients balance speed to market with long-term innovation?
Wow, that's the $1 million question. So one of the big things that we do with our customers is we always try to do some level of an AI roadmap or really an ROI assessment on, let's map out all of the projects and use cases you have for AI and let's categorize them by what's the low hanging, easy to implement, quick ROI, and then what's the longer term, oh wow, no one's doing that. And it's a longer path to do, and it's going to be a bigger investment. And yes, the return might be bigger, but it's a longer path. And so we like to start with getting that win, right? We've mapped out, the long-term stuff that's really cool and innovative. And we've mapped out the quick wins, the ones that are like no-brainers. Let's go put those in first. And so typically a good roadmap has both of those. It has the short-term things that are like low-hanging fruit, and it has the longer-term innovation that's going to help a company, basically be able to compete better in their market or win against whoever their competitors are.
Mm. So, how is AI transforming software development and product design, and where do you see it headed in the next few years?
Oh, great question. It's completely changed it. In the past, when for years, right? And a lot of companies still do this today. You would go through and do a bunch of wireframes and figure out what you're going to go build. And then you would go build it and you would put this whole big team of engineers and product people. And that's completely changed. Now we use tools like Lovable or Cursor, and we build a quick POC, like literally a quick proof of concept, and it works. And say, all right, client, is this what you're talking about? Oh no, I really wanted to have, these screens and do this. Literally using prompts quickly change it on the fly. No engineers needed. That's not a scalable MVP, but it's a
Mhm.
totally different way of quickly showing value versus like, let's go write a bunch of requirements, then let's go do some wireframe. That process takes weeks, and now in hours and at max days, you're literally getting aligned with the customer. That's the first part. The second part, when it comes to actually building, we've built our own methodology around generative driven development. It just means that it's a way of leveraging AI to go and build software with much smaller teams. So we'll use 2 engineers on a project where we maybe used to use 5, or
Mm.
more. We'll try to combine some of the roles like Scrum and product into one role. So you're seeing like this consolidation, and these teams end up with like 3 people that used to be, up to 10 people, and they're developing and producing the same or better outcomes as those bigger teams. And, again, a tool of choice for us is like Cursor. We like Cursor as our, that's our current building tool of choice. And then, of course, there's a lot of other tools that we use as for testing and some of the other parts of the methodology.
Mm. So, what are the biggest mistakes that you see companies make when trying to develop products internally without the right tech partner?
So, I mean, we still see a lot of like, hey, we built this, in whatever place, and we need you to come in and kind of look at it. It's not working as we thought, or it's not scalable. So we still see a lot of that where it's just kind of, what's the lowest cost that I can get, and not quality is thought of later. And then when they get what they asked, thought they were getting, they're not happy, and so we get pulled into quite a bit of that. But I would say more companies have also started to build, really good in-house teams that can do development and can kind of do those pieces, which for us is kind of cool because now we'll help their development teams actually learn how to leverage AI because we know how to build software with AI. And so we almost have kind of a different seat at the table now as more of an advisor. Of course, we build, and sometimes they'll have us put our people in their teams so that we can help not only train them on leveraging AI to build software, but more importantly, kind of embed some of our people in their teams just to better share so we can work shoulder to shoulder. So I'm seeing a lot more of that versus like, let's just outsource the whole thing to a partner. I'm seeing more of this like blended team model where the client's able to gain that expertise, right? By working alongside a partner versus just, outsourcing everything.
Amazing. So you've built a strong team, just team yourself, distributed across the U.S. and Latin America. So what's been key to creating a collaborative culture across borders?
Yeah, I believe technology without borders, wholeheartedly. I think that, there's great engineers all over the world and people that can really, this blending of perspectives and views is very important. Time zone is important to us. That's why we chose Latin America because we have US offices and we wanted to align the time zone just so that we can collaborate better. But one of the things that I'm glad we did is we organically went into Latin America. And what that means is we didn't buy anybody. We didn't go, and a lot of our competitors just, hey, we want to be in Mexico. So they'll go buy somebody and they don't know what they bought. They didn't hire those people. And those people that went to work, maybe they didn't expect to go work for some big US company. They wanted to work at that company in Mexico they're with. So I like how we organically went into Colombia, Brazil, Costa Rica. We hired all our own people. It took us longer because, my Spanish is not very good, and I had to have people help me navigate. But culturally, we started with Costa Rica. They've seen Americans their whole life, and from a tourism perspective, it was beautiful, the blend. Then we went into Colombia. It's an amazing culture, but we did a lot of research and knew that Colombian culture and Costa Rican culture also mesh really well. And then Brazil, we kind of did some of the same. So we kind of chose the places that we wanted to go into. And it's been really powerful watching these teams work together and collaborate. And like Brazil, most of the people are trilingual because they speak Portuguese, Spanish, and English. It's been really cool watching the teams, work together. And it's almost like each country has its own culture. I travel to those offices like once a quarter, and they've taken what we were doing in the US and they've made it their own. We don't, we have core values that we share across every office, but at the same time, they've each taken it, like put their own flair on the culture. Each one has a little bit of a different look and feel.
Amazing. So can we talk a little bit about growth? You've been in business with just this company for 8 years, correct?
Mhm.
And then you pivoted. So what have been some challenges that you faced in your growth and how did you overcome them, Brandon?
Wow. So there's been a lot of challenges and a lot of pivots. No, I mean, originally we were all onshore, right? And then we kind of added nearshore and went down that path for a while. I would say the biggest thing is the market conditions and kind of a lot of times I think I was in front of the puck and then I got frustrated and kind of like, oh man, we're gonna have to change again. So I wasn't patient enough. Like with nearshore after COVID, we were already there. We were already in Costa Rica. There wasn't a lot of other players 6 years ago. There wasn't a lot of others in Costa Rica. I only went there because I like to surf. So I was like, this is like I got lucky, right? I mean, like sometimes you just
It was a
happen.
win-win.
Yeah, I fell into it, right? I fell into like I actually like to surf, and it would be cool if I had a business in Costa Rica. So that's really why I was there to start. And then like, oh wow, like this is working, right? And like we didn't even know what we didn't know. Like nearshore wasn't really a thing. So we were on front of it. And then with AI, when I decided to go all in AI, like last year was tough. We had to take a step back after growing and growing. That was a bet that we had to place. Like, what do we do? Which game are we going to play? You can't play both strategies. Okay, I'm going to follow the globe and I'm going to do this, or am I going to go all in on AI and really be an AI first company? And so last year we took a step back. Unfortunately, we had to do some layoffs, which were the first we've ever done. We had to retool. We had to bring in a new CTO that understands AI inside and out. So, but now, like, and we were kind of we had launched some offers that we're like, why is this not getting traction? This is genius. This is an incredible offer around AI. Why is no one buying it? The market wasn't ready. They didn't, and then so we didn't do a good job of talking to our customers. We launched really cool offers that we thought they should buy without talking to them. And so then we went back and talked to them and we're like, oh my goodness. If we would have just, for example, if we would have just offered Staff Aug AI like last year, that they just wanted more people. They wanted to own their AI strategy. They just wanted more bodies to execute on it. Example, we didn't have an AI governance offering. They were more concerned about risk with AI and what was happening than they were about that shiny new object. We didn't have a governance offering. We missed it, right? We should have started with that. We should have started with simple staff aug and governance instead of like these crazy complicated offers. And so we recalibrated and this year we adjusted and now the market is more like obviously that's a concern around risk and privacy and those things, but now we have a good complement of offers that we can meet the customer wherever they are, from just starting to very mature and trying to scale.
Yeah, you just shared a lot. of greatness right there that you learned and what you needed to go through. And for those of you listening, I hope this is a gold nugget for you. And I want to highlight it because I think it's a major takeaway from what Brandon's sharing is you don't just get to create something and thinking that your client wants it, because you can spend a lot of time and money on that. And then you go to market and they're like, well, wait a minute, that's not what we want. So having those conversations, doing those market research is really key. And not only when you're launching, but also moving forward, you want to keep having those conversations. So you're evolving with your clients, just like now Brandon's doing. So I'm glad that you shared all that. Brandon, what's your North Star? Like, what are your big goals for just say like the next 2025 or the next 12 months?
Yeah, so our product market fit, right? I think that's something that, we're getting a lot of traction around, like I would call it like AI training and workshops. So here's another thing that I learned. The people part of this whole AI transformation, the hardest part. Okay, so like I can go build, these beautiful, it's not a technology problem anymore. A year and a half, 2 years ago, a lot of the hallucinating and all that stuff with people. How often do you see that anymore? Where you get these like crazy off the wall answers? Not that much. And so what I realized is that if I was going to scale with my clients, I had to help them with the people part. So we
Mm,
started offering training, workshop training, like because the people part, if they won't use the technology solution that was built for them, you're not going to get anywhere with it. And the people part of this is, I think, 10x more complicated than the technology and the data part of it. And so that's been a big focus for us. And so where I see us going is really we've been moving upstream. Where, like I said, we're working with a lot of the middle-sized customers where, maybe the Accentures and all those guys, they're not, it's if they wanted to help them, they would charge a lot of money to help them. And they're kind of like actually these mid-market companies, they have the most opportunity to change quickly, right? If you're a $500 million company versus a $50 billion company, you can make this change much quicker, right? Because you probably have a few less employees. You probably, should have a little bit less bureaucracy. And so that's become a sweet spot for us. And so I want to continue to kind of grow in that area and help that middle to large enterprise where they can literally leverage AI to swing above their weight class, where they can literally compete with those $50 billion companies by being more agile, by having more AI across their business where they're running it much more efficiently. So I see that growing. I think our offers will continue to, I think they'll continue to evolve. We've got a lot of good accelerators, but we're going to have to keep building accelerators. And accelerators just mean when I want to see a common set of customer problems. And when I see that a lot of times, I want to get it 80% done so that when the
mm,
customer is ready to buy, there's only a 20%, I'm making that number up, 20% more to get them launched. Because if I start everything from scratch, one, it's going to be expensive. Two, time to market is really important with these customers. So I'm not saying like build the full product, but offer a solution that has an accelerator where it's far enough along that when the customer is ready to say yes, they can move. And another on that point is we're using POCs in the sales process now. So that example we talked about earlier around using a Lovable or using chat to kind of quickly build a POC, we now do that in the sales process because it's only a couple of hours of work, right? You're more likely to buy if you can see what your solution may look like, right? People believe what they see more than you just telling them all this lip service.
yeah. So when it comes to getting your products and your offers in front of your company, your clients, your companies and your clients, how are you doing that? What are some marketing strategies or methods that you've been using or visibility? How are you getting in front of them and like what's worked for you and possibly like what have you tried that hasn't worked for you?
Yeah, so we're trying a lot of things, obviously, trying to get product market fit. What we've found working is like these workshops and the training sessions, helping by teaching, kind of like giving back and helping people understand more about AI has been a good lead gen for us. We did a 2 hour masterclass yesterday, my VP of strategy and myself, and there was 200 plus people on there, CEOs and leaders, and it generated about 40 leads from that match. So that's like almost, and only I would say of the 200, probably 150 were on the whole time. So you're talking about one out of three people roughly
Yeah.
submitted an inquiry. Um, And we found that by offering a high value offer, so what we offered on this was one of you will get a free POC that we're going to build out at zero cost, right? So we gave them a high value offer versus like just getting on there and teaching them, but not having a way to convert them into an opportunity. Some things that I've seen not work is like I said before, we've built some offers that we thought they should buy, and even after we talked to the client, the like possible customers, like it's still not working around the go to market. So it's like trying to figure out what's the best way to get them to buy this offer. What's the best opportunity? And what we're seeing right now is that this workshop starting and building that funnel of like, okay, first step for us is either a monthly webinar, we drive people to the webinar, or we do these free training workshops to as many people as we can get, and that's partnering with channels like YPO, or where's our buyer at? If our buyer is a CEO of a middle market company, where are middle market CEOs? Okay, a lot of them are in YPO or Vistage or one of those, right? So like now we partner with them to do the free workshops, and now we've got, even if we have 20 of them in a call, those are 20 buyers for us, right? And
Mhm.
so one of the things that we've learned is the channel, like how do we leverage a channel to find our people, find the people, our people being the buyer that we're going after. That's been good. One thing that hasn't worked for us in channel is going after these large, think about like the Amazons and the big players where they have, some of these guys have 100,000 partners, right? That are all fighting to get business. We have not been successful at that. We've tried, building specific offers, like, think about like GCP or any of these hyperscalers. We've tried to build specific offers to get the attention of their account reps. Their account reps are who are deciding like, should I pull Hatchworks into this deal or should I pull Accenture? We're going to lose that every single time, right? So we haven't quite figured out in the large channel type of opportunities, how do we give an offer that is a win-win for the account rep to pull us in, which is typically based off consumption and not. So it's like, it's kind of a two-pronged approach because I believe that channel is very critical for scaling a business. It's very critical. And I haven't figured it out in the large channels. Like literally, if you can hit on an AWS, for example, channel, you can scale your whole business off of it. If you can figure out the right combination to get them to send you business.
So if I had a magic wand I could hand you and you could wave it over one thing right now that could possibly stall or hold you back from achieving your goals, your North Star, what would that be and why?
The macroeconomic environment is this whole like, it doesn't matter. Like AI for some business, like, hey, we've been running our business like this forever. Why do I need to go do AI, right? And so in a good, like where we were in Q1, where everyone was pretty fired up and the markets weren't all crazy, it was rolling. Like we started to build a pretty good pipeline. And then the last, few weeks where once this tariff stuff started, it's been not good. Like people pulling back, like, hey, we need to wait, and so that uncertainty in the market, I think, is the biggest thing because, if you think about it, I would love to implement AI. I can see the ROI, I can see the cost savings, but a customer has to have a reason to go, right? And if standard quo is working for them, then why would they not continue, especially if there's a lot of uncertainty? And what I'm seeing is that the uncertainty in some cases is causing customers to pause and wait and see how this thing is going to net out. So I think that could be an issue for us. Like if we go into a real recession, I do think that AI in a way is a way to grow your business without having to spend more money, but you have to spend that money first, right? You have to spend money to save money or spend money to make money. And so it's just trying to get the customer across that line. And so, look, if we could get the trade stuff kind of settled down, I think we would be back in kind of a massive growth mode again in the economy.
So what would, if we could revisit this conversation in a year from now, Brandon, what would success look like for you in Hatchworks AI?
That we doubled our revenue. Actually, I'll tell you this. I care more about pipeline because pipeline and getting that product market fit, it means I can go all in on that one thing. So like I'm probably 80% there that workshops and training are like a great entry point to drive pipeline and funnel. Like it seems to be work, but obviously it's a weird macroeconomic environment and there's other things going on. And so I think by next year, if I was able to run my pipeline at double what I've ever had it before, that would tell me I have product market fit, and that would also help me with where I'm investing, right? Because if I figure out my product market fit, and what I mean by that is what's the one thing I can do that will fill my funnel full, right? And again, I'm not saying that would be our only thing, but if I can find that one thing, I can invest in that one thing that I know is going to drive pipeline, and pipeline always will eventually result in revenue. And that's why I feel like pipeline for us is kind of the single leading indicator that we would like to see grow, because then that shows that, we're going to hit our North Star in terms of our revenue numbers and our growth numbers, knowing that we have product market fit.
I couldn't agree more. We were just talking days ago, and I was saying the same thing. I'm like, pipeline is one of the most important things you can make sure that you have going for you in your business, because then it could be a numbers game, and with everything going on right now, you need to make sure that that's full. So is there anything, Brandon, that you'd like to share before we wrap up that I did? Well, first of all, can you let people know how they can connect with you and learn more about Hatchworks AI?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, Brandon Christopher Powell, and you can send me an email at brandon@hatchworks.com, and I'll definitely get back to you. So Phil, please reach out there or just send me a DM on LinkedIn. No, I would just say that this is the most exciting, I think, time and this most exciting technology curve of our lives. Okay. I share this stat with a lot of people and they're like, what? Think about how big the internet was when it launched and how it is today. Think about how big mobile is, and everyone's got one of those phones and uses it with apps and everything. AI is bigger than both of those put together. Okay, that's how big this technology wave is. And we're just starting with it. And the one thing that I think is really scary and interesting, AI will never be worse than it is today. Will never be worse. Every day it just gets better and better and better. And if you think about, people well, I tried it a year ago and it was, it did this or did that. And those are the people that are going to get left behind, because it has evolved so far, especially with voice and chat and all these multimodal pieces, that I encourage everyone to really look at it and really think about how can it play a role in your lives and in your business.
Yeah, good. Such a good point. It's a very fast-paced space, and it's evolving every single day. And like you said, it's never going to be worse than it is today. It's only getting better every single day. So thank you for sharing all of that. Thank you for being here today. If you are listening to Brandon and I, or you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. And we're happy to have you here. And there's a subscribe button there that we'd love for you to hit. That way you get notified when we have more amazing guests sharing their expertise and what they've been through in the growth of their businesses on here, just like Brandon has been today. Also, if you know anybody that should be learning more about Brandon and Hatchworks.ai or Hatchworks AI, then please share this with them. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform and you can hit a review, we'd love 5 stars. That allows us to get out to more people and share Brandon and Hatchworks with more companies and more people as well. I promise you all a gift. So if you are trying to get in front of your ideal client and trying to get that visibility, and you feel like you're trying different things and it just hasn't, you're wanting to build that pipeline and it's just not working, then go download our Spotlight to Scale blueprint. You can go to spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint for that. One more time, go to hatchworks.com, reach out to Brandon@hatchworks.com. You can also go check him out, Brandon Christopher Powell, on LinkedIn. Definitely go connect with him and send him a DM. Brandon, thank you so much for your time today. This has been incredible, and I'm really grateful for your time and sharing your wisdom with us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here with us on the Business Growth Spotlight, and we will see you on the next episode.